All right, and we live. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in again. We do this weekly from 6 to 8 p.m. We bring you to we welcome you to Northwest Austin Council, and have various channels and ways of interacting with the show. We got the Zoom, we got the Facebook, we got the YouTube. If you got the YouTube or the Facebook, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, make sure you comment, because we can see directly into the show and we can bring you into the show that way if you can't be on the show through one of the various links that we have. Anyway, we're still in Black History Month, so that's a beautiful thing. We still celebrating us. We celebrate us all year round, but for this week, we get the extra celebrate us, and that's extra nice. You know, for as I usually do when I kick these off, I always, throw it to Steve, man. What's going on, Steve? How you feeling, man?
Oh, I'm feeling good. The weather changed a little bit for the day. The weather changed a little bit for the day. You know what? People out here moving around. They moving around. I like that. Seems like it's going to start getting better. I think we have one more snowstorm coming through. But all in all, feeling good. Well, I might as well make an announcement now, but we're going to be doing a massive mask giveaway along with some other things and hand sanitizer and some other things we're going to be doing next Saturday at Northwest Austin Council. That'll be from 9 until 12 o'clock in the afternoon. That's Saturday, which will be, what's the date that's Saturday?
27?
The 27th.
No, 20. That'll be 26.
26?
That'd be 26. Yeah.
February.
26.
We're yet, got a plan, but
we strategically planning it, but we tentatively that will be part of it, and more will be announced.
Okay, it's good business. I know a lot of y'all getting prepared for these mandates and things like that to be dropped. That's dominating the news lately. City of Chicago says they've only reached 1 out of the 3 indicators, but some are looking as if some of the conversation is still centered around the fact that they may drop all mandates by the 28th of the month to end off Black History Month, which, could be a celebration for some. But that being said, you still got to be very careful about parlaying because, look, we at the tail end of a pandemic, God willing, but that doesn't mean that, everybody should be out here all willy-nilly. Because I know y'all Black folk, man, y'all turned up for any reason. Look, we're going to have some end of the pandemic celebrations. I know how it goes. You know what I'm saying?
But we're going to give you a case of masks, too. What is it?
Make sure.
N95?
Yeah. Just make sure you got a little bit of that. You know what I'm saying? A little hand sanitizer.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Make sure you got your mask on deck. Protect yourself as much as you can, man. But still can't be afraid of life, though, man. So, I'm going to be out there celebrating with you. That's all I got to say.
We're going to give you a case, a box of them. Not no 1 or 2 like people been doing, and you could put them away. They all individually wrapped also. So you can have them for a long time if you need to. So make sure you come down Northwest Austin Council next weekend.
Next Saturday on the 26th. What time you say?
From 9 to 12.
9 to noon?
Yeah.
9 to noon. So next Saturday, that's February 26th. We'll be doing the mask giveaway, hand sanitizer, things like that, man, to make sure we still protected again. Mandates are going to be dropping soon, man. And I know y'all want to get loose, but you still got to do it in a safe way. You know what I mean? So
that's right.
Giving out masks like they condoms. Y'all don't use those either. I'm just kidding, y'all. Oh, man.
Well, I'm hoping the congressman come through tonight so he could do some follow-up on a lot of things with us. Just making sure to see where he's at.
One thing I want to go ahead and do is I definitely want to start to shout out some local businesses that's going on in the community. And one of the individuals that we support wholeheartedly. So I want to make sure that we do something for them, And so we're going to pay some bills within the first 10 minutes of the show.
Have you been to the Soul City Community Market yet? It's a pop-up grocery store over on the west side of Chicago in the Austin neighborhood. They have local vendors selling fresh fruit, vegetables, meats, prepared foods, and honestly more things than I can even say in this video. What's also pretty cool is they accept Link Card, and they also match up to $25 of Link Card purchases. businesses. They even have a free photo booth, which honestly I think is a really nice touch. It's over on 5713 West Chicago Avenue, right at the corner of Chicago Avenue and Waller. Click on over to our profile for more info.
Hey, so if you didn't hear, that is the Soul City Market that is on 5713 West Chicago Avenue. That's where the old Salvation Army building was, and it's right across the street from Barney. So what I would need y'all to do, because I know some of y'all still like to be unhealthy, because ain't nothing up in that market but healthy products. You feel me? You got your fruits and vegetables, and you got a few other things. I know y'all want to go get that pizza from Barney's because y'all grew up on that, and I did too. So when you go get you a slice and a crush, I need you to walk on across the street and go get you some fruit and some vegetables. You know what I mean? Because it's all about moderation. Everything in life is okay as long as we moderate. You know what I mean? So shout out to them. Those one of our partners. We wholeheartedly believe in supporting Black-owned businesses. If you didn't know, if you didn't pay attention last week's show, we actually had Liz, the founder of 40 Acres Fresh Market, which is going to supplant that current location. Right now, they're using it as a pop-up. You know, they want to get people excited about this new grocery store that's coming to Austin. And it's definitely coming as here. So, man, go by there and support. 5713 West Chicago Avenue. Go get you some fresh fruits and vegetables. You know, your granny gonna thank you. Your mama gonna thank you. Your body gonna thank you. You know what I mean? The community definitely thanks you, Liz, for going ahead and setting that up for us. So, you know, we just want to shout out our partner.
Fresh food market.
Yep, 40 Acres Fresh Market coming very soon. Right now, it's the Soul City Market. You know what I mean? So go support that. You feel me? That's the way we doing it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is right. Am I on? Am I good?
Yeah.
Yep. Mic's on. So yeah, like I said earlier, the weather seems to be changing, but I do understand this is Chicago and things will change again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I'm ready to go back walking like I usually do. For those that don't know, I'm an avid walker. Like I will walk. You feel me? Height of the pandemic, I lost about 30 pounds because I literally walked every single day. And then I was doing a challenge to myself. I was trying to see how many gallons of water would I be able to drink consecutively. So I would go and buy those dollar waters from Dollar Tree, you know, and I start stacking them up. You know, I know us, we like to keep liquor bottles for trophies. So I was keeping my water bottles for my trophies. You know, I got up to like 73 days straight drinking a gallon of water before I got off track, which I still was drinking water. I just wasn't drinking them by the gallon anymore. But then I got comfortable as well. You know, when you lose that much weight, you start feeling good about yourself. You get the rubbing on your face, talking how sexy you is, you know, and I ain't got to walk no more. You feel me? So I got off track a little bit. But, you know, now that the heat is starting to turn, you know, the tide is starting to turn, so to speak, and the heat coming back, I could definitely get back out there, you know what I'm saying, hit the pavement 10 toes down, and, you know what I'm saying, get back on my weight loss thing the right way, you know what I'm saying.
Making it happen.
The water there already, so, you know, that's a good thing. Now we just got to go ahead and put the exercise and the food up into it, and we looking forward to that. You know what I'm saying? So definitely looking forward to it to warm up. That's for sure.
And
That's for
we
sure.
gotta look at being healthy.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah.
That is the key.
Yeah. Speaking of, you know, this whole pandemic thing, you know, and being healthy, like that was the biggest thing. The thing that caught my attention the most about this whole pandemic was the fact that the underlying conditions is what was doing us in, right? And most of those underlying conditions come from being unhealthy. You know, it was the high blood pressure, it was the diabetes, it was just the being overweight, you know. Did I say high blood sugar?
Food.
Maybe blood sugar.
All of it's food. What you put in.
All of it's the food, man. Terrible. So again, that's why that 40 Acres Fresh Market thing is so huge. It'll be such a benefit to the community because let's be honest, we don't have many places where we can actually go and purchase fresh fruit and vegetables. You know, hell, what's crazy about it is you go in some of these liquor stores and go buy some fruits and vegetables. Come on, bro. You know, ain't no damn way the liquor store supposed to be selling your fruits and vegetables. You know you ain't finna get no benefit from them. You know what I mean? But that's the state of affairs. And speaking of being that we still in Black History Month, you know, I guess the best conversation is to have, you know, 2 weeks ago, we had Dr. Kim Delaney, and she said Black History Month is actually supposed to be the measuring stick for us. If we treat Black History Month as the time period in which we go back and look and say, man, what's going on? What did we accomplish in the last year or over the last 40 years, 60 years? I always remark that the last 60 years have been terrible for Black people because after Dr. King stopped marching, I don't know what happened to the progress. It's been very incremental, very slow. Don't get me wrong. We've had a little bit, but nothing of sustainability has been built in my community. There's no, circular effect in which, one thing becomes another, which becomes another, which is all replaced by the energy and output that we're putting into our community. And that's not happening. So for me, I got to look at the measuring stick, which is the time that we're in, Black History Month, and say, what's going on, man? Why are we struggling like this? Why is it the same situation? Why can't I pull up a video from the 70s, from the 60s, from the 50s, and hear brothers and sisters talking about these same living conditions? It ain't even the living conditions, it's the relationships, right? I talked about listening to the conversation between Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin. And the unfortunate truth is in 72, Nikki Giovanni was dealing with the same issues that a lot of Black women deal with today. Trying to understand why is it that Black men desert them, Now, James responded by saying that Black men find it difficult to be a man if they can't be a man and provide in the right way. And she was like, well, that doesn't matter because, they'll go out in the world and put up with everything somebody else will give them, their boss or what have you, but then come home and treat me like I'm nothing. Like, why do Black men do that? And I have to say, we still live in that time. We still live in that time where a man will go to work, put up with all type of shit that his boss is giving him and other people, and then go home and give it to his family and treat them like shit. That was 50 years ago. So the state of affairs in the Black community looks cyclical, like it's steady repeating itself, and that's true of time. Time does nothing but move in a circular fashion where the old becomes new and the new becomes old once again. But why does that have to be in my community though? Why does my community have to look like it did 60 years ago? Why does the relationships in the community have to feel the same as they felt 60 years 50 years ago? Because 60 years ago, I don't think the relationships was like this.
No,
50 years ago, for sure.
50 sounds about right.
Yeah, 50 years ago. Yeah. But that's because in part of that conversation, they were talking about the advent of the social programs and things like that. Being that if a man wasn't in a home, then a woman could get something for free. And that started 50 years ago. And that actually was leading to the breaking up of the Black home and things like that, So, yeah. So the measuring stick not looking good to me, man. I don't know. What was we at back in the 50s, 60s?
But you gotta look at the
70s.
other side of the coin. People tend to say we've been in 400 years of slavery, and it's been actually about 200 and
I think about like 290, something like that.
290 or something to that effect. And then if you look at we've endured over 100 years of Jim Crow, and now we're living in post desegregated America for about 50 years or more. So everything's pretty much cutting in half. Slavery's been cut in half by Jim Crow. Jim Crow's been cut in half by post desegregated America. And what is the next 25 years going, 25, 30 years going to look like? That's the question. What are we going to endure? What are we going to have to overcome? And what will we need to do?
Well, I know one thing. We got to do a lot.
And we're talking 30 years. So we're talking the year 2050, pretty much. 2050, 2052. Can you believe that? 30 years will be in the year 2050 already.
They all still be alive. Shit.
What?
2050.
We hoping?
Yeah.
We hoping?
Man.
Hey,
Mm.
we gotta push forward, push on, and make it, and keep on pushing, as they say. You know, somebody got to do the work.
Damn.
You got to be out there to make sure that people are well aware and well educated.
Yeah, but what does that look like though? What's the work look like? You know, because I think everybody doing work, but where's it going though? Where's it getting us?
Well,
That's the question.
again, if you look at the struggles, everything's been cut in half since the struggles began. You know, in America, as I said, almost 300 years of slavery, almost 100 years of Jim Crow, and then almost 50 years of desegregated, of a post-desegregated America. And, you know, I don't want to say that's going to be the next 30 years. I think it's going to be something. I'm hoping it's going to be more towards unity and building. That was what we want for our communities, for our neighborhoods, for our cities, for our country. And we need this. We really do, because if you look around, it's what's been happening in the last, let's just say, 2 years with the advent and the um, coronavirus pandemic. There's been so much civil unrest. There've been so many changes of policies and laws, and I think people are highly confused and very upset. You know, it's always said that when people are mad enough, that's when they make change.
Just want a revolution. No, I don't think. See, I don't. Nope. I mean, no, I believe that in revolution. I just don't think. I don't think black people been walked on enough. I don't think we've been walked on enough. Nope. Can't be. You can't tell me that we've been walked on enough when we continue to sign on the things that doesn't work in our best interest.
Well, I don't think they understand. A lot of people now don't recognize they're being walked on. But if you reflect upon those that have, and that still includes you,
Right.
but you just don't realize it, then you will say that's gonna be your aha moment, you know. And then maybe you'll just snap into a madness, a sudden madness.
Yeah, I don't know. I see. I don't think the sense of urgency is high enough. I don't think. I truly believe we feel though that things are going well enough for us. It's not until another black person is killed that we start to look back. Oh, damn! You know what? We haven't gone anywhere. We still ain't in positions of importance. We still haven't made any legislation that actually changes our output. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I feel. I feel like we constantly are lulled into false security where we think that we're actually getting something and we're not.
Give me an idea of what piece of legislation that will ultimately be the catch-all, be-all, do-all that you think. One.
So one piece of legislation right now would be to if it was written in law that we were included into the pension system, the federal government's pensions. Black people probably make up the most, and I don't know this to be true. So this is this is me just talking off the cuff. I could be pulling these numbers out my ass, but black people probably make the most government workers there are probably black folks. And we have nothing by the way of controlling interest of the pensions. Nothing. And there's trillions of dollars of pensions. Put that in the legislation. Because economic inclusion is what we should be fighting for. Forget everything else that we consistently fight for. Black people own 2.2 trillion, no, 2.8. The last time I checked, this was about 2018. We had about $2.8 billion of assets in black owned banks. Now listen to me. 2.8 billion would it be dollars of assets in black owned banks.
Almost 3 billion.
Only 3 billion. only $3 billion in black-owned banks. We spend GDP, Consumer Spending Index (CSI) $2.2 trillion a year. And the CSI is made up of all the spending that you can name. So that's clothes, that's food, that's housing, that's whatever you want to call it. Now,
entertainment,
and whatever you want to call it. And so you look at balancing a budget, and if you spending more than you bringing in, than you got in savings, if you spending more out the checking than you got in the checking, something ain't adding up. That's another thing for those individuals that's steady giving you all that they have out their pocket. The banks themselves, that needs to be written in legislation as well. 10% or whatever the percentage is of all the banks, all your Chases, all your Wells Fargos, all them slave owners need to go and put that money where it belongs. Write that into legislation too, and I don't care how nobody feel about it. Economic inclusion. That's what needs to be written in legislation.
I remember at one point in the 80s, they said that the military was comprised of more black people than there were any other group of people in America. And I'm like, wow, we have a totally black military. This
what's going on, Congressman?
And then I know at one point the postal system was very inundated with black people. So you could be right. On the federal level, they're probably no.
Look, it's a lot.
No. Congress said no.
In the federal government,
in this day and age,
working for city, state, and federal government, you're gonna find a whole lot of black people, but you won't find any black corporation, organization, or what have you that has any amount of ownership in the pensions of those federal, state, and city employees, probably county as well. So a lot of black people working in those positions with no controlling interest. We ain't getting no money.
Well, you're kind of right about the money. Economically, African Americans are really at the bottom of the barrel.
That's what I'm saying.
And of course, there are a lot of reasons for that. And one is we reached a certain level of being, and we thought that what we had been experiencing was so negative until we threw out the baby with the bathwater. A lot of times. I'm saying there were long periods of time when the most comfortable places for African Americans to take their money and spend it was at African American owned enterprises. I'm saying, the most comfortable place to go was where there were black establishments. And as other things changed, where public accommodation became more open to African Americans began to use those and use them greatly and abandoned the thing. I had breakfast yesterday at a church that was celebrating African American Heritage or Black History Month. And I must tell you, it was the best breakfast food I've had in a long time. And I'm actually going to call the preacher and ask him if he could put me in touch with the lady who cooked the breakfast. Because I want to hire her to fix me some of what
she had. Good. It was just
she had salmon croquettes.
Oh.
And I didn't want to be greedy. I wanted to be civilized. But I had to. and she had biscuits,
Hmm.
and she had rice.
Uh-oh.
And I don't eat very much breakfast as a rule, but I ate everything that she had on my plate and really went back looking for another round.
Mm.
But it was all gone.
Round two. Gotta go.
It was all gone.
Who is this again?
Where was it? Oh, it was at Reverend Marvin Hunter's church over in Londale.
Okay, yeah.
Fellows, one McDonald's great uncle, and I don't know any place I can go to get that for breakfast.
Yeah.
I mean, I just salmon croquettes, rice, and biscuits.
Those establishments are long gone. Remember, what was it, Gladys's? And
Yeah, all of those are gone.
what was the
And I only know one sit-down restaurant that you can go to on the west side.
It's terrible. That's terrible.
only one? Which one is it?
MacArthur.
Oh, MacArthur's, yeah, for sure.
I don't know any place else that you
We don't
can
even
go
have-
soul food.
We don't have any places where you could sit outside. Now I get we got some dangerous and violent neighborhoods, but come on, man.
Yeah.
You. I mean,
Outside, but I love it if the weather is good.
that's all I'm saying. It is what it is.
You know?
Lawndale got some.
Yeah, they've done a great
Yeah.
job on Ogden Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
I give a lot of credit
Mm-hmm.
to, and here's what happened with Ogden Avenue. A coalition of individuals came together. The North Lawndale Economic Development Corporation,
Mhm.
a group that Coach Wayne Gordon spearheaded the organizing of. He was the coach at Farragut High School. When he got called into the ministry and started a church with a little group of his students and ball players and stuff. That was a part of it, but he also had a bunch of other ideas. And as they began to emerge, they locked in with the Turner family, Art Turner,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
who was the state representative in that area for many years, and the Steele family,
Bobby.
Cook County Commissioner Bobby Steele, and then her son Robert
Yeah.
became the commissioner. Robert was a juvenile diabetic human, and ultimately passed away. But Dennis Steele, who was a part of that group, just kind of stepped right in. So that coalition has been together now for, I'd say, more than 20 years. And they've done some fantastic work along Ogden
Mm-hmm.
and all the way down to, well, heading on down to Pulaski and going further down. And then back up the other way, going down towards Mount Sinai Hospital. I give them a great deal of credit for the work. That's it. And the alderman also was a part of that too. I'm saying Michael Chandler,
Mm-hmm.
and then after Michael passed away, and now Michael Scott. So they've had this community development, political engagement association with a group of ministers as well. And it's coming. And they're getting ready to redo Costner. The city has approved a plan and a developer for the Costner Roosevelt, which is about a, I guess, 40-acre site That was the silver shovel site. And the dump that used to be an industrial site. U.S. Tobacco used to be there. Howard Crafters used to be there. Right there.
You talking about Copenhagen?
Copenhagen.
Yeah, on 5th and
yeah, all of that was a part of Copenhagen. Was on the other side of the viaduct, but it's really from Roosevelt Road to Fifth Avenue, and from Costner back to 2-3 blocks.
Yeah, that's been some years. Since that's been used. It's been what 4 decades, I mean.
Yeah, it's been a while. I lived in that area.
Hmm.
I lived in the 4000 block of Crenshaw at one time. I also lived at 1529 South Kaminsky,
Okay.
which was just a little over.
You lived right where I lived. I lived in the 4400 block of Crenshaw.
So I want to just interject a little bit because so before you came in, we were just talking about the state. We had Dr. Kim here. I think you were here. Or did you miss it? Did you?
Yeah.
You were here. Okay. So she talked about Black History Month essentially being a measuring stick month. That's her view on it. We should always look at Black History Month as that measurement tool for us to say, okay, where are we at? How far have we gone? X, Y, Z. And so we was talking about that conversation, and I was telling Steve about policy and things like that. So he asked me, what policy did he think made the most sense for us to grow? And I said, we got to be, it's the economic inclusion piece. We have to be allowed, written in legislation for us to be a part of some of this federal money in terms of the pensions. And then also, I think the banking system needs to allow us, it should be written to allow us in there too. Some of these large banks, the Chases and the Wells Fargos of the world.
I was involved with organizing the Community Bank of Londale, and we organized the Community Bank of Londale, and it lasted in pretty good shape for about maybe 20 years. I guess maybe 20 years. It did all right.
So what happened to it though? Why?
Well, they got in trouble in terms of some loans that went bad.
Okay.
And so you have to be very careful. And of course, Shore Bank pretty much had some pretty liberal lending policies and would let people. I was involved with that also. As a matter of fact, I brought the bank to Laramie and Harrison Street. Milton Davis was the president of that bank. And of course, I knew Milton, as other people did. But they wanted to move either west or north. And they went around talking to people. And I suggested to them that they ought to move west as opposed to going north. That
excellent choice.
That they were coming at, from the south side of the city. And they did. And again, they had some liberal lending
Practices.
Yeah. But there was Highland Bank. There was Independence Bank. There was Seaway Bank, which used to be
that's old school.
one of the largest black banks in America. And unfortunately, all of those institutions went out of business.
Hold on, you there, Tiny? I hear you.
Hold on, Tiny.
Go ahead, speak again.
He said him and Milton Davis used to ride in the same car.
Yeah. Mhm.
He used to work
Yeah.
there. Yeah, I was telling about that. And see, that's the thing I was telling Steve. One of the things that we got to realize, all those banks most of those banks no longer exist, right? But in terms of collectively our buying power, what we have in black-owned banks is only $2.8 billion. We annually, it ain't a whole lot of money. Ain't a whole lot of money. Not when you could not. And I only say that knowing that the billionaires in this country are worth. but we ain't gonna talk about that. But our consumer spending index, how much money we spend, is $2.2 trillion. And I was telling Steve, the books don't balance. Ain't no way in hell you only got 2.8 in your checking account, but you're spending 2.2 trillion.
But the money moves through the communities where we are and does not remain.
Right.
I'm saying the money comes through.
Right. Well, but
as opposed
Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say, they saying it only lasts 72 hours in the community. You get your check on Friday, you go grab you a little bottle. On Saturday, you gonna hit the club. On Sunday, you gonna go to church. And Monday, you broke.
But nobody ain't gonna change that. But
absolutely, I agree.
I'm saying
I agree.
And us oftentimes don't have enough discipline to do it, and don't and aren't willing to sacrifice.
That's the key word. That's the key word. That's the key word.
He who
That's the key word.
sacrifices little
That's the key word.
accomplishes little.
Mm-hmm.
But he or she who sacrifices greatly accomplishes much.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who makes the sacrifice to not go to the dance, but to study his chemistry book and pass the date up and see the pretty little girls going by and say, "I'm gonna sacrifice."
That's right.
And study tonight, as opposed to going to the hop. So that's the guy who ends up making the A's, making the B's.
Yeah, we call that guy a nerd.
Yeah.
No, which is one thing that I talk about too. I say we need to raise the level of intellectualism and celebrate that. You will find more people willing to celebrate somebody coming home from a bid than they will somebody getting they educational degree, which is a crying shame because we've lowered the level of people that's smart get called nerds. Those are the people that's bullied on. But those are the ones that have the transformative imaginations to really uplift this community and move it past.
Right.
And we don't celebrate that enough.
And we celebrate the instancy of success. I mean, the guy who makes a great record, and everybody likes it.
Yeah.
And so, that's success. And the guy who can hit some home runs. And that's success. But the guy who just plows around every day doing what he or she need to do in order to build a business or build whatever it is. There's no big hullabaloo about that person.
Right.
And so I often say that he or she who's willing to sacrifice are the people who ultimately are rewarded with success. And
you're right.
People do it, but it's not the macho thing. It's not people can name stars, but they can't name a guy who just worked his business for 20 years.
Right.
And reached the level of comfortability, sent his kids off to college, so that they too could live middle class lives and do all right. And they send their children off to school and do whatever they got to do. How do we change some of this? I think becomes see, I do believe that as we went through a stage of liberation and unshackled some of the chains and threw out stuff that we thought were holding us back, that we did throw out the baby in many instances with the bathwater. And there's no substitute for study.
No, it's not.
There's no
Can't get around it.
substitute
Can't
for
get around it.
hard work.
No.
Right.
There's no substitute for learning to be thrifty. There's no substitute for learning to use whatever resources you've got as wisely, prudently, and appropriately as you can use them. There's just no substitutes for those kind of things. We're not teaching enough of that. And there are people. I'm not going through those changes. I'm not going to wait to do so and so. I'm going to get what I need right now.
Don't jump the line.
I'm going to enjoy life right now.
Well, what we were saying earlier, I told DeAndre that we've endured almost 290 years of slavery, about 100 years of Jim Crow, and about 50 years of post-desegregated America. And what's the next 25, 30 years going to look like? You know, what will it be? It seems like everything seems to be getting better, but it's taking, you know.
Is it getting better? Because I maintain that this might be one of the periods in our history where children cannot necessarily believe that they are going to have a greater or superior quality of life than their parents. I'm not sure that I could just predict that the quality of life for my grandchildren is going to be greater than it is for me.
That's real.
And
that's real.
And I think when you take away hope and possibility, and you don't grow up believing that the sky is the limit, then you don't shoot for the sky.
Right.
Because you don't believe that you can get there. You think there is a ceiling that has already predetermined your existence.
You don't think there'll be a big awakening, a big turnaround, big change, where younger people will have these opportunities?
For some young people, yes. I mean, for, you know, and you have to face it, that there are some children born into the world with a big disadvantage. They're born behind. They're born in an environment where they are just not even with other children. And there are some parents who didn't have a lot of formal education and all that, but were just outstanding parents. And they gave their children what their children needed. Then there are other parents who didn't have it to give. You can't give what you don't have.
I want to bring this attention. So, you know, as we talk about our progress, right, or lack thereof in some respects. So we had it was about 3 weeks ago, we brought Andy Williams on. He was a candidate that was a very, 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 very long shot to win president. But, you know, he had the courage of his convictions, and he went out there and he was doing this thing. But one of the things he brought to the table was President Lyndon B. Johnson and the Kerner Commission that was written in 1968. Actually, the guy was head of the Illinois General, I think, at the time. Kerner? I think his name's Otto Kerner. Governor and of Illinois. And so he actually wrote this piece, and it was 228 pages, I believe, and it was actually a bestseller. You know, who knew a report would go on for 2 million people to purchase a report that talked about the times that those individuals are living in and how do you move it past it. Now, I want to bring the attention to some of the points of the Kerner Commission because it's a damn shame, especially as we talk about progress, that in 2018, we were levied a federal consent decree here in Chicago that was full of stuff that was actually in the Kerner Commission 50 years ago. So let's say, so here's one of the key points about police and community. It says, the need for change in police operations in the ghetto to ensure proper conduct by individual officers and to eliminate abrasive practices. And what does that mean? That means that police misconduct, including indiscriminate stops and searches, physical abuse, harassment, and contemptuous and degrading verbal abuse or discourtesy must be curtailed. Police departments must develop rules prohibiting such misconduct and vigorously enforce it. Police commanders must be aware of what takes place in the field and take firm steps to correct abuses. Departments must use greater care in selecting police for the ghetto areas and place the best, not the worst, officers there. Screening procedures must be developed along with better training and incentives or bonuses. Officers with bad reputations among residents in minority areas should be reassigned to other areas. New patrol practices must be designed to increase the patrolman's knowledge of the ghetto, and motorized patrols should be more limited. Y'all tell me out of those 50 years ago they said this stuff's supposed to be happening. Why are we under federal consent decree with every single thing mentioned in the talk about this what they should stop? Y'all, I keep saying progress in the black community is incremental. We got to stop allowing incremental progress. That's 50 years ago that was written. And there's more just like that. Come on, man. All I'm saying is it's not okay. It's not okay.
No, by no means is it okay, but you have to also look at what was it and how long ago or how much time did it take for the commission to come up with that? Was it 50 years before that? Was it 100
No. This was made as a result of the riots in Detroit, Illinois, and other areas across. So this is that time.
Okay, so it came out due to the civil rights.
To the civil rights unrest. And the overall result of this report found that America was moving in two directions, a white one and a black one, that was going to be unequal and unequitable for black people.
But we already knew
I was
moving in two different directions.
But we're here now.
Before
The Kerner Commission was the fact that it got reported.
Right.
But we already knew all of what was in it.
Yeah.
Before it was reported.
Right. Remember I said we lived 100 years of Jim Crow.
Right.
We knew it, and because all we had to do was look at the riots,
right,
the massacres, the hangings,
right,
and all of that had gone on years before that, and that had been going on since slavery time. And so we knew it, and I guess getting to the point where a commission would be established to write it down.
Right.
That was the progress. That had been
the aha moment, the light bulb.
But how do we, and you look at the resistive efforts, everything that comes out good or that makes sense,
mm-hmm,
somebody is opposed to it.
Right.
and somebody fights back, and somebody tries to keep it from happening. I've been trying to understand what Jim Crow actually meant, and where did the term Jim Crow come from? How did it arrive? And so
Mhm.
I would imagine that there are a lot of people who aren't sure what you really mean when you say
Right.
Jim Crow laws.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they-
Who was Jim Crow?
Where did they? It actually started right after slavery, right?
Well,
Immediately after.
it probably got pronounced a bit after that. I mean, even Reconstruction.
After Reconstruction.
That's when they put us back in slavery. So even then, and if you look at slavery, if you notice, Congress did not end slavery. Right. The president issued an executive order.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Emancipation Proclamation was. Because you couldn't get it passed in Congress to say, let's abolish slavery because it's wrong. Let's do it. They debated it. I mean, they argued it. They talked about it. And finally, Abraham Lincoln, that's what made him so pronounced and famous as he became, said, no, y'all won't do it. We can't get it voted on. I'm going to issue an executive order. And that's why some people are talking about President Biden, that there are some things that he ought to go ahead and do using executive order to do it. And if it never gets confirmed and so forth by Congress, then so be it. It just goes back. But at least he will have done it. Now, Congress did affirm some things after the Emancipation Proclamation because they did come up with 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution, which basically were affirmations of the executive order that the president has already issued.
Right.
And the struggle business, there are places in this country that I would not want to go alone or even with somebody. And people tried to warn that was going to happen if Mr. Trump got elected because they saw that he was campaigning basically on a platform that was going to reignite some of the racial animosities and racial feelings and
Tensions.
things that had existed but were subsiding a little bit. And he brought it back up to the point where people became comfortable with it and where legislatures are saying, let's do all these things. Let's take these people's right to vote away from them. They ain't got no reason that we vote. So we can't let them vote. So let's change the law. Let's do this. And that's why this business of struggle is so important to keep going, because if you don't keep going, then you're going backwards. If you don't keep going forward, you're going backwards. And so people who think because it's not hot and heavy, it's not, Illinois is okay because we've got Democrats in the dominant position
Mm-hmm.
in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
But the Republicans are trying everything that they can do. And they've started. I mean, you don't give a cat $20 million for a campaign unless
Right.
you got
Unless you look.
some reason. You may give him 20,000. You may give him whatever you give him, but you don't give him 20 million just right off the cuff.
You talking about the governor race?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's more than just the governor's race. See, that's my point. It's more than just the race for governor.
See,
It's a race to change the state of Illinois.
when you talk about like young people and not knowing exactly what their future may hold, I think the Republican Party is understanding that young people are not beholden to any party anymore. Like Steve's generation, he's like blue blood Democrat, right? I'm not, right? I'm more independent than anything. But then there's a lot of conservative young people out there too.
But when you say you're independent,
Mm-hmm.
what does that really mean?
So for me, because I am liberal, right? Socially, I'm socially liberal, right? But I'm fiscally conservative.
And fiscally conservative means that you don't want to spend money to deal with the issues and problems and needs that exist.
No, for me that means figuring out exactly how do we solve those issues, right? Maybe that means looking more closely at the root of the issue versus creating measures that are stopgap or even, to use the analogy, putting a band-aid on a burst water pipe, right? So I'm like, what are we spending money to actually, are we fixing the issue, right? For instance, we spend a lot of money on violence prevention work, right? Steve and I are the ones that's in the community, boots on the ground, going door to door, trying to build relationships between community, because we recognize that will probably do a lot more than, and no disrespect to the groups, but going and rehabilitating people and putting those same people right back on, where they could be a toe away from dipping back where they came from, type situation.
Do you care whose money you spend?
Absolutely, you gotta care who
Well,
money
let me
you
just
spend.
tell you, Build Bank America, President Biden said, we're going to pay for this.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going to take a dime from anybody who earns less than $400,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would you call that a conservative position or fiscally conservative or fiscally unfounded?
So I believe in corporate social responsibility, and such that it is incumbent on the corporations that are making money hand over fist off communities like this one to be able to give back to communities like this one. So if that means having to take a little bit off the top to bring it back over here, then hell yeah, because we are the ones that's actually funding what you have. Now, I also look at that as you help us to put ourselves in a better position that furthers your position. Because the only thing we're gonna do is go get the money right back.
I was about to say.
You know what I'm saying? So
you don't even have to say that.
Right, you don't gotta say that, but we know.
You automatically know.
Right.
Whatever you spend that money for,
mm-hmm.
the only people who are going to get a profit off of it is those who got something to sell.
Right, exactly.
Those who have something to give.
Exactly.
And so if you're not one of those individuals, you don't get any profit.
Right.
So them that's got still are going to
they're still gonna right. So yeah, I'm with you. That's where I'm at with it.
And that would seem to make economic sense
Yeah.
to me.
Right.
And yet, we have not
But that's
been
not the
able
fight.
to get
Yeah.
the Senate to pass it. And we have not been able to get wealthy people who go be the beneficiaries of any. If a guy gets a job who never had a job, and now he can buy himself a car, who get the benefit of him buying a car?
Right. The car bell, real talk. Right.
General Motors,
Right.
Ford, or whoever owned
Right.
the car dealership. But it's still hard.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to protect in their mind whatever it is that they are protecting. And how do we get beyond somebody? You know, the lady, she passed, I think, but she used to say this poem about somebody ought to do something. Somebody ought to say something. I forget her name now. But I always looked forward to hearing her say it and use it, because change comes when enough people seeking it
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
unite their efforts and become the force that can make it happen.
Yeah.
That's when I see change coming.
That's what's so difficult for me to see us in a better position, because even as we talk about things like inequality and a lot, and we know that's still derived from racism and stuff like that. And many corporations will outwardly say that, hey, we're staunchly against this. But then when it comes to the point of saying, well, economically liberate our people with some inclusion off of some of the dollars you're making off our back. Oh, no. We can't take it that far now, buddy. Hold on, buddy. Hold on, buddy. Now, we ain't gonna call you the N-word to your face, you feel me? But that's about as far as we gonna go, 'cause we can't put no money in your pocket. So that to me, I'm like, man, wait, what's and that's why when you say sacrifice, I believe in boycotting, right? I truly believe in boycotting. I wish my people would be like, I'm not spending another dollar with Amazon. I'm not spending another dollar on a Tesla. I ain't spending another until these billionaires decide that they want to cut us into some of those profits. Just bring some of that back to the community. You know what? And if you don't want to bring it back to the community, how about you set up a center that teaches us about business practices that got the Amazon name, because we'll walk into that.
But you gotta sacrifice when you do the boycott too.
I mean, listen, I'm down with sacrifice.
Yeah,
I'm down with it.
But a lot of people aren't.
I know that's the problem.
You know what I'm saying?
And
hey,
like you said, that's why we ain't going nowhere. That's why you said it. You said it. You said.
I would be with y'all, but
man, I already know. I already know what time it is.
You know, we used to tell a story about a young fella who told his girlfriend, say, I love you, darling, so much, until I was swim the deepest ocean to get to you. Mm-hmm. So I'll climb the highest mountain. Says I'll walk through fire to get to you. And then when he gets ready to end up, he's looking. If it don't rain too hard, say I'll be over the water.
A fool. A fool. Sold that woman a dream, man.
But all the stuff sounded good, except the actualization of it.
Right.
I'm saying.
Right.
Now, sometimes you see these things. I was at church today. Actually, Dr. Wilson came to the church that I attend today. Mm-hmm. And he brought about 150 seniors and people with him. And he gave $20,000 to the church. He gave everybody there 50. and he fed everybody who wanted to eat. And, you know, we did the traditional singing, you know, little preaching. About 8 or 9 people joined church.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a wonderful, wonderful day. I felt good to see it happen. And
Corey.
he did that last Sunday also. He was at another church over on Independence. And I just as soon see some business. I've been talking to business people all last week.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, we know the state got this $17 billion
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't figured out how we're going to make sure that small businesses get a good piece of it. Black-owned businesses. There are not a lot of black-owned construction companies.
Mm-hmm.
And engineers who are together in a venture.
I got one for you if you need one. I got one for you.
We need them.
Yeah, Bico. You heard of Bico?
No.
All right. I got you. It's definitely a collection of black electricians, carpenters, you name it. I got the director here on my phone, Cassandra Matz.
Well, oh yeah, I think I'm. But even so, of course, they've got to have, as the RFPs come out for certain kind of project,
Mm-hmm.
certain kind of work,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and we don't want to end up after the roads are built, after the sidewalks are fixed, after the bridges are repaired, alleys are paved, that we're having the same discussion that blacks didn't get a fair share,
That's a good point.
or women didn't get a fair share.
But let's think about this. You have jobs that are out there, like you said, you're pouring concrete. All you're doing is taking a wheelbarrow and you're pouring the concrete. You don't have to have a master's degree or what have you to do that. We see this all day, every day. These individuals that are out there just holding signs,
Real.
hammering a piece of wood
35 an
to
hour
make
project.
the form for the concrete. They don't need all of those highly skilled what do you want to say techniques or skills. I mean, but it's going on every day, and there are individuals out there that have these jobs. How come we can't do that?
Because what you need for whoever the people are that get the contract to be willing to hire some of these people to do we need rules and regulations and laws saying that if you get one of these contracts, you're going to have to bring in a certain percentage or a certain number.
Man, that just sounds so bleak. I'm not gonna lie. That just sounds
that live in the area.
Right.
I mean, there are all kind of here. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of conversation about project labor agreements and about when individuals get a contract to do some work in the community, what is the community benefit? And does the community get a guarantee that there's going to be some benefit beyond just whatever it is being done that gets done, but there's some other kind of economic benefit that will remain in the area with the people who live there. So that
Right. So when the building is built, the people that then live there actually work there.
yeah.
Yeah. And that matters, man. But like I was saying, it was bleak just because it, it really sounds bad that in the communities that we live in, we always have to be the sub. You know, we got to be the subcontractor to build in the community we live in. Neighborhood. I don't think we live in a community just yet because we missing the essential ingredients to be a community. But in the neighborhoods we live in, we have to be the subcontractor, and then it has to be bargained in to the contract that we actually can have working roles after that is built. That's crazy. That's why our community is. That's why we aren't a community. That's why we aren't going anywhere. We continue to have to go ask another person. And I get. I mean, I know how the world works. There's laws, right? There's, rules and regulations. I believe in the spiritual governance of the world. So all of that. But Jesus, when you really sit and think about what it takes, it's like, come on, like, who are we fooling here? It's not until we truly get together and unite and have some sacrifice will we really make a dent into what's happening today. Otherwise, this incremental progress that I'm speaking about is going to continue to happen. And like you said, you even feel like your grandsons and them not going to have to be able to enjoy, a more how you want to say it? Yeah, then even you had that's crazy. But that's realistic, and that's what we moving towards if we continue like this.
Well,
Can I say something, Bill?
go ahead.
Yeah.
Three things. One, the French have a saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
Okay? And number two, since George Floyd, this is a new world. All of that stuff with racism and all that, it's a different world. I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's not going to look like it is now. We got too many minorities now, and it's too few of the races. That's why they try to keep us from voting and keep us away from it. It's a new world, I believe. And the third thing I like to say is, like Danny was saying, there's no substitute for those different things. There's no substitute for reparations. We have reparations that'll take care of all of this stuff.
Yeah. Hey, after reparations, we can't talk about nothing no more. No more economic inclusion. They go, hey, I don't want to hear black people. We gave y'all the bread you was deserved. You right. Yeah, you're right. That need to be. Speaking of, what we have with reparations? Because I know Evanston has, at least some economic policy regarding reparations that they enacted, yeah. And then there's some other places around the country that's done some small things. And I know that isn't there a commission going on currently to look at reparations?
Hasn't been, passed in the House.
Okay.
See, we have this kind of government that says you got to get enough agreement from every element of society in terms of what you want to do or what you're trying to do. And if you don't get enough people to say you can do it, then you can't do it as the government. I think we're having more discussion And it's hard. I mean, reparations, the more I celebrate Black History Month, and the more I understand what has been done to African Americans in this country, the more convinced I become that reparations ought to be done unequivocally and without a doubt. And some people hung up on what will it be, what shape will it take. Now, what Evanston did, you're talking about the Evanston ordinance and program.
Mm-hmm.
Evanston identified a certain need that existed in its town relative to housing and trying to create a level of housing equity
Mm-hmm. Right.
for Black people who had been damaged by the institution of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we're going to let our reparations be
In the housing.
trying to help these individuals get home ownership.
Okay.
But that's what. Now there are some people who would say, well, that's just a program.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's got to be some kind of program, whatever it ends up being. And I commend Evanston and applaud them for moving, and hopefully that will show some other people in other places that there is a way to do this.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll be able to get it passed nationally so that something is done nationally.
Yeah. You know,
as opposed to only in a few places where people have advanced.
You know, as we talk about these things, it really makes me think like those individuals who have that deep-seated hatred, racism, or dislike, whatever you want to call it, of people with my skin color, wants to continue to keep us in the place where they are above us. That's what reparations to them would represent. Having to let us go. At least momentarily, because we know how economics work. But them saying okay to reparations means that they no longer have us by the chokehold. We can make decisions for ourselves where we will have to be included into all of the money that's being circulated. And once you do that, you become free to a certain degree. Now, again, we all gonna do what we gonna do when we get that money. However that shake out. But a lot of us gonna go get home ownership. A lot of us may invest in the stock market. A lot of us will open up a business, you know what I mean, to keep the money circulating, so that we can create some sort of generational wealth for us. And I think those that really want to stop that, look at that and say, I can no longer control that person. I got power with the control that I have right now because they need me. They have to come to me for something. I don't, and that's what I think. That's what I truly think. Because I don't see how difficult it is for you to say, because they've bailed out the auto industry, they've bailed out the banking industry, they bailed out the housing industry, but they won't bail out the people that's the actual economic engine of this country. Stop playing with me, man. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Well, you know, I was at this housing seminar on Friday, NARAB, and the National Association of Realtors, Black real estate owners and people who sell housing. Blacks home ownership, I think they showed it as being at 41%. And of course, white ownership, I think they showed it as being at 76.
I was gonna say 70 something. I already knew it. Yeah.
And Chicago, of course, in Chicago, blacks are at the low end of the totem pole in terms of home ownership. Now, is there any prohibitions against blacks owning homes in Chicago? And there are a lot of people who pay enough rent to actually pay a house note
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
sometimes not even as much as the rent would be. But they still opt to pay the rent
Right.
as opposed to buying a home.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You got two questions. Hands up, DeAndre.
Yeah, go ahead. I can't see him.
Well, one, what is it? 312. Who's that on 312? Go ahead, open them up.
I think that's Venus.
Venus. You got a question, Venus? Go ahead.
Well, you know what? I did have a question, but I did want to say something. Last night, I was at a fundraiser with Danny Davis yesterday in Naperville, and it was the most outstanding event that I have been to. Me and a lot of, I guess, his followers, me and a lot of his followers, we went there last night, and I just want to let Danny Davis know that we had a wonderful, wonderful time, and we're glad that we pressed our way to get there.
Well, thank you, ladies. I was so delighted to see you until it just wasn't funny. I mean, I was just very pleased. It was what we call a multi-ethnic event. And, you know, there were a lot of people there who were not necessarily black, African Americans. As a matter of fact, most of the people there were not black.
Oh, that's Naperville.
Yeah.
There ain't a lot of black people out there.
Well, the reason it was in Naperville is because that's where a venue existed that we could acquire. And we do have a lot of people in our district who are not black.
Mm-hmm.
My district has 41% black voting age population.
Oh, really? Wait. Because you out in Broadview and all. Yeah, that's right. You on the west. Yep.
Which means that 59% of the voting age population in my district is someone other than black people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this business of cultural fusion, it looks like the next alderman for the area known as Chinatown may very well be Chinese.
Mm.
It looks that way. That's what the politicians are talking, because the alderman who represented part of the area was just convicted and, of course, had to resign.
Patrick Thomas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Thompson.
And so people are trying to figure out, how do you live together in a unified manner? Because what happens in many instances to one, for example, people all over America and all over the world are on pins and needles right now because there are 150,000 troops.
You say the Russia thing?
Yeah, the Russia thing. Oh, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
The Russia thing is frightening.
Oh, yeah. It's real.
It is really frightening. And hopefully there can be enough diplomacy to work things out so that we don't get into a nuclear war. Because if we do, oh my goodness, that just sets things back.
Oh yeah.
The resources that would have to be used, the shifting of resources from domestic things to warlike things,
Right.
the numbers of people who would be killed and injured, all of those things,
Collateral.
all of that's real. So we have to try and learn to live together as neighbors and as people in the world, or die together as fools.
Hmm.
I mean, and so I'm hopeful. But thank you very much, Venus. I was so glad to see you all, and it was great. We had a wonderful day.
Let me just say one other thing. I heard you were endorsed by the mayor of Chicago.
Yes, I was endorsed by the mayor of Chicago on yesterday, and I was very pleased to receive the endorsement of the mayor. Actually, I made the point that that is only the second time that I've been endorsed by a mayor
Oh wow.
since I've been running for office in Chicago. I
Oh
was
wow.
endorsed by Harold Washington, who was mayor in 1987. Of course, I was elected to the city council before Harold Washington became mayor. And then, of course, I was re-elected same time that Harold was elected. So he didn't endorse me then, but he wasn't the mayor. He endorsed me, but he wasn't the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
But he did endorse me after that.
Second term.
When he was the mayor, yeah. And so I was very pleased. And not only had I not been endorsed by the mayor, I hadn't sought any endorsements from the mayor. I was reading something the other day where the young lady who's running say that I've been a lifetime machine politician. And I said, I don't know where she been.
Yeah, I would disagree. I would definitely disagree.
And I don't know.
You started out as an independent.
Yeah, I don't know where she
started out as independent.
What?
Yeah. But you know, you last week you said something that really caught my attention. You basically said you got to pick a side though. At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? And I get what you're saying. You started, like you said, you started as independent. I mean, you're a progressive Democrat essentially at this point, but you got to pick a side. It doesn't matter. So hypothetically, even if she was in the same position, she would have to pick a side. You're gonna be like, there's no such thing as machine when you have to pick a side. There's nothing you can do about that.
Well, I think she has heard about the machine. And let me tell you, Chicago used to be the talk of the country.
Yeah, this was
in terms of its political machinations.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
The terminology machine politics. There were big political machines. Chicago had one. New York had one. There's time when Boston had one. There were times when Kansas City had one. And the way these organizations emerged, there were a lot of people moving around from place to place. And so when the immigrants would come to, say, Chicago or come to New York, the political forces would meet them and say, here we are. place to stay.
Mm-hmm.
We know where we can help you find a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
You need a job. We
It
know
was-
where we can help you find a job.
That was part of their political process, or was that
That
just
was part
how
of
they
the-
welcome?
It was the political process, but it also was very helpful to these individuals.
Yeah, because I'm saying I feel like that's what all the immigrants used to do for one another, right?
Yeah, but some people perfected it
Okay.
much, and Southerners were coming from the South
Mm-hmm.
to Chicago like Johnny going north. And the same thing would happen with those individuals. Somebody would come and, say they were the precinct captain.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was to help you get settled,
Mm-hmm.
to
Okay.
help you find a place,
Okay.
to help you. I wish I'd have had somebody to help me find a job. When
Man,
I came to Chicago,
I hear that. I hear that. I hear that.
you get off the boat or you get off the whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know.
You don't know nothing. You gotta, hey, come with us. Come with us, brother. We're gonna put you up.
You start from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got to maneuver.
Yeah.
And so in some instances, it did become the politicians. In other instances, there were social workers.
Mm-hmm.
There were settlement houses. There was the Jane Addams approach. And so all of this was a part of the making of America.
Mm.
But the machine, the political types oftentimes would just ask a person the question, if I help you, are you going to help me?
Quid pro quo.
Yeah, if we help you, what
Mhm.
you going to do? And then they,
Hey, I believe in that type of politics. I ain't gonna lie to you. I believe it's the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. That's a relationship. That's
yeah,
how it's
and then
supposed to
they
be.
come and say, well, you want, why not join our group? Join our club.
Mm-hmm.
Become a part.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you go to high school.
Yeah.
5 guys standing on the corner when you walk up on the school grounds. Hey man, how you doing? Hey, I like your sweater.
Yeah, it's this awesome sweater. You know what I mean?
That's the fraternities and the sororities.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, be with us. But it got out of hand.
Mm-hmm. I understand that. That makes me think then, because often we talk about a black party that represents the best interests of black people. Do you think something like that is attainable? Could we become a political machine?
You could, if you get enough agreement
Mm-hmm.
and enough people had the vision.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of the way the games
Mm-hmm.
got going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you get a group of people who have enough agreement and have the vision of doing like a good church, a good church that decides that, yeah, we're going to come on Sunday and we're going to get happy and we're going to sing and we're going to pray and we're going to do good things with each other. But then somebody might say, why don't we build ourselves a senior citizen building?
Mm-hmm.
So when we get old and can't pay the mortgages on our home, that we have a place we can go and stay. And so they get the vision to build a senior home. Then when they get old and don't want to be in a big house by themselves, they can get rid of all the junk they've accumulated. Take it to the Salvation Army or something. Get them a 2-bedroom apartment in the building that their church built, and they can afford the rent.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't.
It's called
need
sustainability.
all the stuff they've been had.
Sustainability.
That's what they do. That's what co-ops do.
Right. Right.
People develop. It's hard to get people to agree.
Yeah.
That's the big piece.
Yeah.
For example,
Yeah.
just take a block. I remember one of the on Harrison Street when I was in Albany. We had a block club. They had a building that had a lot of trouble. It was a multi-unit building, and I talked them into buying the building.
The block club?
Yeah,
Or
the
okay.
block club bought the building.
Mm.
I remember Miss Ewan. It was Delia Ewan. I can't think of the block, but Miss Ewan was the block club president. They bought the building.
Mm-hmm.
Then they could decide who lived in the building.
That's co-op. That's called co-op.
They could screen the tenants.
Yep. I told Steve that's what I wanted to do.
They wouldn't be having any
Yep.
problem.
Buy a whole half a block up and then
that building.
mm-hmm.
They sure did.
Yep. So that's why I told Steve, I said, man, I wish me and another group of young folks, man, we could go buy a whole little strip of houses, buy the rest of them, and then we could create whatever our agreements was and say, this is what we're looking for if you want to purchase this home.
I want to be a neighbor.
And then the equity from the homes as it's building up, we put that into a pot that we could continue to go out and buy more things with.
You could buy something else
I mean,
and be making money.
it be seeming so much like right to me.
Living off
Yep.
your money.
Yep.
And don't worry about everybody can't work for it. Everybody can't be.
Right.
Hire somebody who knew what they was doing.
Yep.
To be the manager.
Yep. Yep.
Somebody that knew how to take care of heating and ventilation and all that. To be the electrician and make money off keeping that up.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else get the little contract to get the snow away.
Man, it's.
I want to go back to one thing. We were talking about the banks. Why is it so hard for Black people to get a mortgage? It's like banks. Let's go back to when there was white flight. The white people were fleeing, but they still got mortgages when they left. And you can't tell me all of them had grade A credit.
I mean, they was one of the people that looked like them, though.
But they have organizations and groups that can help you. Their group, what people are doing now in terms of learning to try and invest, there's a company called Fund and Grow.
Mm.
And if you decide that you really are interested, you sign up with them and they show you how to improve your credit.
Mm-hmm.
And they take you through a whole bunch of steps where you get your credit up to a certain level.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And if you do that, then if you want to try to buy something or do something,
Mm-hmm.
they'll help you try and find the mortgage
Mm-hmm.
money.
Mm-hmm.
They'll help you find a bank that would be willing to lend you the money based on your credit score.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are people who are doing, fella comes on Saturday mornings on VON. I often listen to a Dr. Grayson who teaches people how to improve their credit score so they can have access to capital.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of the reason is because these entities exist. Quite honestly, I've been trying to get some of the social service agencies and the politicians on the West Side to invest in building an entity that could really help people own homes.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons, for example, people moaning about Hispanics moving on their block, Hispanics here, Hispanic housing helped many of these individuals to purchase
Mm-hmm.
homes.
Yeah.
and
Yep.
to find the money
Yep.
that they need to do the down payment,
Yep.
to get the mortgage.
Mhm.
I mean, they, you know,
And when you talk about that sacrifice piece, we joke about the fact that 5, 6, 7 of them live in a house together, but they saving money. They putting money away so that they can go purchase a home. These same homes that we neglect, turn into dilapidated entities, they purchase for $30K. If they got cash, here I got 28 for you, 23 for you.
and you don't have to
And
be
then,
Egypt.
man,
Dude, I bought
no,
my
you
first
don't.
house 50 some years ago. I was paying rent, and I decided, why am I paying rent? When the same amount that I'm paying for rent, I could pay a mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
The last people I rented from, they still live 1529 South Coolidge.
Wow.
Both the Nance and his wife. And hey, they still active. They involved. I run into them at meetings and stuff. And I bought a house from a fellow, Space at Realty. Bob Gurner.
You know what I want to do? So we did this earlier in the show, but I definitely want to continue to show love to the Soul City Market. It's located 5713 West Chicago Avenue. And if you haven't tuned in to them yet, here you go right here.
Have you been to the Soul City Community Market yet? It's a pop-up grocery store over on the west side of Chicago in the Austin neighborhood. They have local vendors selling fresh fruit, vegetables, meats, prepared foods, and honestly more things than I can even say in this video. What's also pretty cool is they accept link card, and they also match up to $25 of link card purchases. They even have a free photo booth, which honestly I think is a really nice touch. It's over on 5713 West Chicago Avenue, right at the corner of Chicago Avenue and Waller. Click on over to our profile for more info.
Right, be there.
All right, y'all. So every Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 3. And on Saturdays and 10 to 3 on Sundays, stop by 5713 West Chicago Avenue at the Soul City Market. Go ahead and get you some fresh fruits and vegetables. They also have, obviously, some other choices that you can make. But that is going to be the location of a Black-owned grocery store in Austin. So
And young
put a little clap on that. And as we're talking about, supporting ourselves and economic growth and development and things like that, that's something that we got to do. We got to go out and support because it's very necessary for that. So that's one of the individuals that we support. They support us. And if you all have any other, ads and things like that, listen, we want to bring them on the show. We want to make sure that we support West Side businesses and West Side people doing West Side things here on Northwest Austin Council. So I just want to throw that in there before we get ready to wrap it a bit.
Vegetables. I saw what looked like a whole bunch of fruit.
Yeah, I just went there. I went there last Saturday. They got a lot. They got a nice selection of things. In fact, they had a person came through with the meat today. Premium steaks. Yeah, so the market itself is going to be a nice market that caters to all individuals for the community. As they mentioned, they have a link match, so up to $25. You get $25 worth of food. You get matched up to another $25. So yeah, so they got some things going on.
Cool with me because I just finished some black eyed peas, cornbread. I even had some buttermilk.
Oh man.
Oh,
that man.
I even had some buttermilk.
Oh man.
The
man finna go straight to sleep.
Man
finna go straight to sleep.
Nah, it was good. I asked my wife to pour me another couple of shot of that buttermilk.
No, we really do need to support Liz in the 40 acre fresh market. I mean, You saying they're having meat there now, steaks or what? What?
Well, that was just today. So every week they might have a different vendor that's going to come. Today I believe they had a person that was bringing in some steaks, though. High quality meat. So, and that may be different than when the actual store opens up. But again, I can't speak for the market. I just want to show the support. Make sure that their ad is up on our show, and any other individual that has an ad that showcases their organization. And speaking of, if you are an organization and you don't have some sort of ad, I would like to partner with you so we can help you create one. That individual that you hear the voice, you saw him in the beginning, he's actually a marketing individual that does some work in the Austin community. So we want to pair with businesses, organizations, and get you an ad so we can play not only on our show, but also so you can utilize a few dollars and showcase it on social media. If we really want things to grow, we got to take advantage of what's in front of us the way that it's supposed to be. So that's something that we're looking to do throughout the community, and you should see another ad on the show probably in the next week or so, hopefully, or two.
If we really want to grow, we have to promote.
We got to promote, man.
We have to utilize, and we have to be devoted.
Yep.
A little devotion. That's all we need to our cause. But there's something else I wanted to bring up, Congressman. So you are in the midst of campaigning and petitioning for this up and coming election, correct?
Yep.
So
Actually, I think the first day to file petitions is like March the 7th. And, there are a lot of people gathering petitions. And oftentimes, there are so many things people don't know. Like many people won't sign a petition because they think somebody's trying to slick them into something.
Oh, man.
Come over on them. And they're just adamant in terms of, no, I ain't signing that. Well, all the petition really is doing is saying, as far as you're concerned, it's okay for that person to run for office. I mean, that's all it really means. And this year, people really don't even have to have as many signatures. I like, for example, to run for Congress, you only have to have about 400 good voters to say, as far as they're concerned, that it's okay for you to run. If you're running for judge, I think it's about 600, 700. If you're running in the sub-circuit, if you're running for ward committeeman, it's not the ward committeeman, state central committee, I think you need less than 100 signatures. And it, like I say, in some states, you pay a fee to get on the ballot. Some states, it's a small fee. Some states, it's a more expensive fee. But Illinois, you just get your neighbors and people who register to vote.
Right.
To say, as far as they're concerned, it's all right for you to run for office.
Yeah.
And once people know who's going to be on the ballot, then campaigning will start in earnest, big time. People will be ferocious. And I hope that, there will be
That's the easy part.
The
ballot shit.
for people
Easy
to
shit.
have meetings and coffees and invite people running for office to come and make pitches.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can know.
That's what I was going to say. One of the things that we don't have, and I know this from my own time, and maybe Steve too as well, why don't we have like local debates or even a place where those take place? I do remember the last time you guys ran, though, you did it at the library. You did a little small one at the library. But we don't have legit locations where candidates, I don't care, local, federal, state, whatever it is, can come and sit and have a debate from the audience. That's what I want. I want to hear track records. I want to hear what you plan to do. You know, I want to be able to. I want to hear that. You know, I want to ask questions because I like asking questions.
Well, you know, I used to go to town halls that Senator Paul Simon would have. And I always respected Senator Simon because he would come and sometimes there'd only be 10 or 12 people there
Mm-hmm.
at the town hall meeting. And I thought it was just strange that people wouldn't come out to
Yeah,
hear
that's true.
their United States Senator.
It's true.
But I ended up getting to know him and also getting to like him. And I remember when he died, I drove down to Carbondale, me and a fellow named Nate Benson, in the snow to go to his funeral. And ultimately it paid off because when I ran for Congress and asked him about endorsing me, he said, look, he says, I don't usually endorse in these primary elections, he said, but I am going to make 2 endorsements. I'm going to endorse Dick Durbin, my protege, for my seat because he was retired. And he says, I'm going to endorse you for your seat in Congress. And I always remember that about Paul Simon.
Oh yeah, he's very well known.
But there's no other way for people to make decisions. I'm saying,
Yeah.
you know, I often say that there are 2 kind of people. There are those people who make decisions, and then there are people who get decided for.
Mm.
And
That's a
you
fact.
gotta be one or the other.
That's
So
a fact.
if you're not making decisions,
That's a fact.
somebody else is making them, and you gotta live by whatever they make. So you may as well be throwing your 2 cents worth in and telling people what you believe, what you think, what you hope. And if they're honest with you, they'll tell you how we can work towards making that happen. If they are dishonest, they'll tell you some hokum spoken that says, hey, I'm going to do so and so and so. I'm going to do so and so and so. And anybody that knows anything knows that no single person is going to do anything
Mm-hmm.
but talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's
the
a fact.
only thing a single person is going to do is talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if you can convince a bunch of other people to join with you to do whatever we're talking about doing, then you can do anything.
Yeah.
And people remember things. For example, the guy who sold me this building when I bought it called me the other day.
Oh really?
His name is Ted Wardlaw.
Ted Wardlaw.
Yeah, he's part of the Wardlaw family.
I know some Wardlaws.
Well, the same, they're the Wardlaws.
Oh wow.
The whole Ted was a realtor, and he was telling me he was 80 some years old, and he's actually Clarence Thomas's uncle.
Really?
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, Clarence, the Wardlaw family. Clarence's mother was a Wardlaw,
Okay.
and at one point she was the vice president of the school board. Yeah, she was a mathematics teacher.
Okay.
Before she got injured. And then when Jane Byrne became mayor, Jane Byrne put her on the school board.
So what's his name? Ted Wardlaw?
Ted.
Okay, because I know Sharon
You know
Wardlaw and
Clarence?
Terrence Wardlaw.
Well, Clarence is his brother.
Wow. No,
Yeah.
this guy's about my age.
Oh, okay.
This-
Well,
but
that's
he's
one
a-
of the
he's-
nephews.
Yeah.
That's the whole family.
Yeah, I went to school with some Wardlaws.
The pastor of New Zion, the fellow that built it, is a Wardlaw.
Okay.
Down east, the magnificent church over there in the medical center. on the south of Roosevelt Road, down near Ashland.
Okay.
That's Wardlow.
Mm-hmm.
Church on Douglas Boulevard. Reverend Wardlow was the pastor of that church.
Hmm.
And so the Wardlows and the Thomases, I mean, that was Clarence's father used to work for the congressman way back
Yeah,
in
look
the
that
day.
up.
He was his district director.
Yeah, I want to. So we right at that hour, 8 o'clock. I would definitely wanted to start bringing in the Zoom, for the final thoughts as we get ready to wrap up. As you know, we do this from 6 to 8 every Sunday. You know what I mean? Congressman blesses us when he can. And we always benefit greatly when he here, man. So another great conversation. Black History Month is wrapping up. I think we got one more. So hopefully we can do something special for the last one. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and move over to the Zoom and bring those individuals in.
What you say, Tiny? What do you have to say?
Yeah, I would just like to say something like we were talking about mortgages early, and in Inglewood, for a 2-bedroom to rent it cost $1,500, and my 4-bedroom house is only $1,300. So it's cheaper to own than to rent. Also,
Jesus.
I was trying to refinance my house, and so I was going for a mortgage. And at the same time, I was trying to get the TIF money because they said you could get the money to fix up your house.
Mm-hmm.
With the TIF program, they want everybody's income in your house, everything. And when you give them all of that, they say, "Oh, too much, can't do it."
Wow.
With the mortgage, they say, "Oh no, we can't acknowledge household income. We can only acknowledge personal income." And then your personal income, they say, "No, you can't afford another mortgage."
Mm.
So that's how they do it.
That's how the system rigged,
I
man.
thank the good Lord I never paid $1,500 for a mortgage.
Man.
Hey,
No, I've had 3 houses, and I've never paid $1,500 for a mortgage.
hey, right. You are blessed, and I pay 10% interest.
Man.
And if I was and the mortgage people tell me that I could refinance and pay $600 a month, but I can't afford to refinance.
Yeah, it just makes sense if a person can to purchase as opposed to rent. You can purchase and say for 40 years, you just pay rent. At the end of the 40 years, all you got is a draw full of rent receipts.
Man. Yeah. I prior to the pandemic, I was on my way. I had gotten me a $6,500 grant towards the purchase of my first building. I don't want a home right away, a building. And then the pandemic happened. So that set everything back. But we're gonna get back on the right track. So refocus, credit looking good, you know what I mean? And the next job that I get that, brings a healthy income in, because I do gotta offset my school loans. Definitely gonna get back on that track, man. I personally I want to have 2 pieces of property by 37 years old. So I'm not that far away, and we got to get to work. So I'm looking forward to it, getting back to that for sure.
Plus, we may do some with that student loan debt eventually.
Hey man, listen, look out for me. All I think personally, I don't think you gotta eradicate all of it. If you can eradicate 50,000, that's gonna save a lot of people. That in itself will save a lot of people. That I ain't in the 50,000 range. I got a lot more than that, but you take 50 off me, I'm all right, guys. Who I gotta vote for? Period. Who I gotta vote for?
Guys my age got over $100,000 in
Man, look.
student loan debt, and that's just from the last 2 years,
Yeah, man.
But How about you, Miss Jacobs? Do you have anything to say?
No, I came in late, but you all talking about land. I was hearing somebody talking about the other people, how they're building in their community. And it seems like it's so complicated for us to try to build if we do have any type of land or whatever. It's just complicated. How would you go about it? And then it's like I said, it's just complicated. You can't do anything in our community because you have to go through so much.
It depends on how you look at it. For instance, we talked about a co-op model where the congressman talked about a neighborhood was experiencing one off of Harrison, one of the group, how I'm trying to say, block clubs was experiencing one of their residential buildings, whole lot of problems. They purchased it, and then because they were able to purchase it as a group, then they were able to say, okay, this is who we want to live here, right? And I was telling Steve, I had that same idea of getting some young people. We go figure out one of these blocks. We go buy the whole half a block, and then together put our money together and go buy the other half of the block and do the same thing. Say you can only live here if you come in with these qualifications. At that point, then you own the neighborhood, at least that one block. And so stuff like that is very possible. When you think about, and I've tried to do this with even my own family members, especially when you have kids and you get your taxes back. Most people get in a good 6 to 10, probably 15,000, depending on how many kids they got. Can you imagine for a family of 6 if those individuals put that $5,000 to $15,000 together? That's a few buildings. That's a few in 1 year. Now imagine you did that for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It's a lot of. We don't think like that though, and part of it just because we have been introduced to it. But so we can do a whole lot about our community. We just choose not to. We complain too much about what is what we can see visually instead of what the opportunities are. And other people see the opportunities because they know what it takes to build. I think we do too because we come from the line of it, but we just so stuck on ourselves that we like, I don't want to do it with nobody. I want to do it for me, by myself, with me. And we know that because we got a lot of organizations that do that right now. It don't even make sense.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, that's part of the problem.
How about you, Raheem? Do you have anything to say?
A great show, guys. I knew you was about to call me. Yeah, I had a lot of thoughts during this show, man. But I think like the root of my thought process is that I feel like we haven't progressed because it's not designed for us to progress.
Yeah, that too.
And you know how I like to connect dots, right? You know how people say, I'm playing checkers, not chess,
Facts.
To me, none of that really matters because your opponent is the board. So the board is the system, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to work within the confines of that, how many little blocks? 64, 62 blocks on the board.
Mm-hmm.
That's the system. So even when the system benefits from people getting locked up. The system benefits from people graduating from college.
Mm.
And I just feel like, I don't know, it's not designed for us to progress.
Mm.
And if we were to do go the political route, it would have to be like sweeping changes. We have to get reparations. We will have to be tax exempt. We would have to get free education. And all these things have to be specifically for Black people.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a bill for poor people, that's not going to work. If it's a bill for
minorities,
a bill that eliminates $50,000 for college, for everybody, that's not going to work. Because we get it, man. It's like we're the we're the girl with low self-esteem. You get your confidence up with. You know what I mean? It's like,
Mm.
You get used.
yeah, and it's not just it. Every other group does that. They use our struggle and our hope
Mhm.
and all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All that undergirds everybody else's progress.
Oh man, black pain is so much money. So much money.
While we stay in the same position. So I mean that's all. That's my
I hear you. I hear you.
Nah, appreciate that. Yeah,
Barry,
appreciate that.
Barry,
Appreciate that.
hey guys. Hey Barry.
Barry.
Yeah. So I wanted to touch on one thing that was mentioned at the beginning of the show. The Kerner Commission in 1968, you said?
Mm-hmm.
So in 1968, Lyndon Johnson was president.
Mm-hmm.
In 1970, 2 years later, Nixon came in.
Yeah.
And Nixon came in, and then Gerald Ford. And then we got Jimmy Carter for one term, and then Reagan for 2 terms. And then George H.W. Bush, and then Bill Clinton, and George W. Bush, and 9/11, and all of our civil liberties greatly reduced. Obama came in, and
Barry O.
you know, one of the things that he didn't do was to change the civil liberties that George W. Bush restricted. So all of that continued through the 2 terms of Obama years, and we got Trump. And thank God he's gone. And I'm saying all of that because of the 50 years that you've been talking about that have passed since the Kerner Commission. It's been dominated by the Republicans. And the Republicans have they've gone from being what was the Republican Party under Nixon to something far to the right of it under Trump. And Trump is dominating. So seems to me that come this November, it's going to be a big deal. Because where the Republicans are going is to not only keep our civil liberties greatly restricted, but eliminate the right to vote. So it will be, I mean, the Kerner Commission is child play compared to the potential. So what I'm saying is all of that really matters a lot. In this November, and man, 2 years later in 24 for the presidency. So, you know, I urge everybody to vote against what they're, because it's not Republicans. It's some form of authoritarian government. And I would call it fascism for sure. So that's what I have to say.
All right, Barry. All right. Congressman, that was it? Congressman says?
Congressman?
Well, I think it's going to heat up in a minute. Whether we end up in war with Russia or not, I'm certainly hoping that it's going to be not. But I think this is a defining year for the leadership of the country.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
We've got to stay alert, know what's taking place, and try and direct it in the way we'd have it to go and not give up and just keep on pushing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just want to say to all that are on today on the show, make sure you come down Northwest Austin Council to the community room. We will be giving away N95 masks. We ain't giving away one or two. We giving away boxes of them. And we will be giving away hand sanitizer and some other items that we will be raffling off. So feel free to come through. They're for free. We'll be doing this next Saturday, February the 26th, correct, Deandre?
Yeah,
26th.
that'll be 26.
From 9 to 12
Saturday.
o'clock.
26.
9 to 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And
50th anniversary.
you may be able to see some of your local politicians there also.
50th anniversary.
And oh yeah, also don't forget our 50th anniversary is coming upon us soon this year. Northwest Austin Council turned 50 years old this year, and we want everybody in the community and as far as possible to be involved. We will be letting you know about prices of the tickets and the itinerary within the next month.
All right.
It'll be coming up at the end of this year.
For me, I just wanted to say that, yeah, we're at a turning point in the country because we typically go out in the big elections, right, president and things like that, and we don't mind the midterms, and this is a midterm year, and as the energy is mounting, it's not looking that good. So I think we all got to consider what that means for each of us individually and start to plan accordingly, and face the good or the bad. So you got to do what you got to do. That being said, we do this every Sunday from 6 to 8, various ways of interacting with us. We got the Facebook, we got the Zoom, we have the YouTube. If you're on the YouTube or the Facebook, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, and then comment so we can see directly into the show. That way we could bring you in if you don't want to be brought in. Otherwise, other than that, man, in closing, like I always say, they didn't want to give us a seat at the table, so we had to create our own. Thank you for allowing us to welcome you to Northwest Austin Council.
So,
Y'all have a good night.
good night, all.